also as well, I mean, I personally don't want him to change. I mean, I don't want him to change in the sense. It's nice to have characters in football. I know you get some bloomin', it might be better for PR that we don't have anyone who, if we had a whole team of Ryan Giggs apart from recently, of course.
Ned, come on.
But like someone who never says boo to a goose and never does anything never says anything controversial. But okay, bad choice. But
we talk about his, gobbing off at referees and stuff. We haven't said a single word in the last probably 6 months about the way Louis Reed gobs off. Now, Louis Reed had suspensions last year because of gobbing off the referees. He got sent off after the whistle for gobbing off at referees. And we didn't say, apart from us going, there's a little bit of inexperience seeking in there. He's the same age as Harry McCurdy. And we've not addressed it. We never said anything after that. We left it be. Now, the only reason we're discussing this now is because Harry McCurdy's been suspended for 3 games. If it was 1 game, I don't think we'll be discussing it. Yes, I think he's an annoying little prat. But, at the end of the day, if this is a first occurrence, I'm quite happy not to just let it slide, but I'm quite happy to be wary that he's a good player. Let's just see him play and hopefully he returns. But I will have no qualms if he's dropped because he starts playing shit. And I will turn on him if he gets another suspension because of some stupid actions or something like that.
If a reasonable offer, whatever reasonable is decided to by the club, comes in before deadline day, would you cash in?
If the offer come in and it was good enough, he's a League Two footballer. You know what I mean? There's money talks at this level. If it's the right offer for the club and the player wants to go, then you can't stop him.
Okay, Ned?
If Harry wants to go, then there's no stopping him, obviously.
No, he stays, and we need 2 more forwards as well. We can't afford to let him go.
Ben?
If only someone else is lined up, and the deal has to be on our terms.
Okay, and Craig?
So if the offer's right, but I mean, it is a fair point, and I said this on the lower league look last night that we were supposedly looking for 2 strikers as it is. So, but I don't think, with or without him, we're not going up, we're not going down either. So I'd be happy to cash in, and if it was a good offer, take it, because also I don't think he's going to sign a contract extension. I'm not saying it's a crisis mode. I'm not a Lindsay out person or anything like that. I want to give him time. But how much longer are we going to give them if we want to have a successful season?
Just hearing his name makes me tremble.
Don't tremble, my darling. I will protect you.
Oh, your grip is so strong. Is that because your kung fu is good?
Yes. I have trained for many years in the arts of kung fu.
Sometimes I think you love your kung fu more than you love me.
Chop and change the formation. We got players who can't play at full back but are only wing backs and everything. It just looks like a mess to me. I don't think it is a crisis, but we need to do better. We need to do so much better, and my confidence is shaken in Lindsay because I was one of the people who cheered when he got the job. I thought it was a really good appointment, despite what people saying it was the cheap option.
Come on, lads. We got a 1-1 draw against the favourites to win the league, didn't we? According to some. I say it every time. I hate draws. I probably before the game may have taken a draw, potentially with not knowing anything about Stockport, with the exception of Paddy Madden and Sarkiewicz, who, funnily enough, were heavily involved in the game. But I'm really, really disappointed that we've let 1-0 slip, like away or home. I think that's what's really the concern for me. We can't. I don't know how long we can sit here for. We're getting into September now, and we seem to be chalking up more draws than anything else. So, for that reason, I think we should have taken advantage and jumped off the back of the Rochdale result, and really, really, gone at them, so to speak.
There's been a lot of discussion via our Twitter these last couple of days about how long we can accept what we've had so far, though. If our sort of points per game stays as it is and our performances pretty much stay as they are, I don't think he'll be here at Christmas. And unfortunately, we're in a situation, I think you alluded to it earlier, Craig, where there are some fans who were ready to write him off from the beginning because he was the cheap option. And the longer, again, this goes on, the more they will believe that to be a correct stance. And they may be correct. But you can't come away from every game saying we've done well because they're a good side. We are a good side, and we should be beating some of the teams we haven't beaten.
We've got 5 games. I want to see at least 3 wins out of that. We need to get wins on the board, not just draws and dropping points. If he can do that, 9 points out of 15, then I would be content to let him continue and see how we get on until Christmas.
Would I give him till Christmas? No, if this is the current run we're on. The only reason being is I think as also we need a little bit of transparency to come from the club in terms of where the board and where Clem and Di Michele see us, where they want us to be. If this is a consolidation season, then I think we do give them till Christmas. But if they generally think that we're going to get out of this division this season, whether that's via playoffs or automatics, we can't give them till Christmas. We need to start seeing results. I do want Lindsay to stay. I want him to do well. We saw him after that win against Rochdale and how much he loves being here. And I think us fans have got to not take that for granted. We've got somebody who, not like Garner. Garner, I think this was a stepping stone for Garner. Whereas Lindsay is very kind of he you can't doubt his passion. He wants to do well for the club. So I'm not him out yet, but I will start to raise my eyebrows if we're in the same kind of form come October, because the form we're on at the moment will be in the bottom 6 in October.
We're doing all right, and I just think we jump on this bandwagon that we've drawn a lot more games than we've won, and I'm just thinking, relax. And we've got a run in now where I would personally look at teams, the likes of Gillingham, Sutton, that are very much winnable games. So after those, my opinion might change. But the 6 games that I've watched so far, apart from Harrogate, every single one is a tough game on paper. And that's where I stand. He is the right man at this time, and I want him to do well because I want him to prove the no-sayers wrong, because I think he deserves it.
We've got some quality players here, and they're damn sight better than 17th in the league. No matter, I don't care what anyone says. And it's early season. Like Liam posts about Barrow. Barrow are not going to be up there in 6 months' time. They're going to be nowhere near top 7 at all. Same with Stevenage. They'll middle out to mid-table because they don't have a deep squad. Your teams like your Tranmeres and your Swindons will push up the league. Whether Swindon do better with a different manager, I don't know, but time will tell. At the moment, I back him in 5-6 weeks. If we're still sat lower half mid-table, he's gone. Got to go.
I just want to, in fact, I will just quickly stand up and applaud Warren. Because honestly, what he just spoke there was just pure gospel. Honestly. But
I agree.
No.
I feel I'm going to throw up now.
And I only judge it from a Swindon ban thing. And don't get me wrong, we're all entitled to an opinion. I've got no problem with that at all. But I just can't have that we're trying to write this manager off already. I think it's disgusting.
That's not what I was saying, Warren. And I've made it clear that I am Lindsay in, but I'm just concerned at where we are at this point in the season. It's like we're trying to make excuses for him. When really he needs to take responsibility and say, look, we've got 7 points out of 18. That's not good enough. He knows that's not good enough, and maybe we are on an upward curve, but
is it not good enough? You know what I mean?
What? We're 17.
No, but but you look at the league, Craig. It's still tight. Like we're 2 points off the playoffs or 3 points off the playoffs. You can't say that 7 points is not bad, or not great. When we're looking at the 17th position in a league table that's really compacted because we've only played 6 games.
I would personally say, and again we'll come on to it, that 7 points isn't a good start. Really, there'll be the people that say we've only lost 1 league game, but we've only won 1 league game. The point Woody made about the draws is valid as well.
But we've already said at the beginning of the season that we're going to be going up this season. Well, not all of us, but some of us, including me, have said that we're going to go up this season. So shouldn't we be beating the teams that we are only just scraping 1-1 draws against and things like that?
If they finish 13th, 14th, you may even top them, but they are not going to be in the top 3.
I'm
not going to be where we are, and we are.
I'm very conscious that Nick has been waiting very patiently to have his say on it. And just very briefly before I hand over, because I know that this is the one he was particularly looking forward to. What else have we had here? We've had a let Nick speak, which I promise I will do shortly. Ned is talking a lot of sense. People keep talking about, so I don't know if Craig notices it. I know we all are, but his video tends to freeze and he's talking, and a lot of people mentioned about his video.
I didn't realise you guys had. None of you bastards told me. So
no.
So yes, thank you very much for everyone who is commenting both on Twitter and on YouTube. Nick, you have waited very patiently. Here's your opportunity. Say everything you want to say.
Well, I agree.
Sorry,
with
before
everything.
Nick starts. I'm joking. Sorry, Nick. I couldn't resist.
Cheers, Craig. My issue with Lindsay is that we started off with 3 centre halves at the back. He had to change it when McCurdy got sent off. We went to a back 4. We've recruited on the basis of playing, call it a back 3 or a back 5, however you want to do it. We've got 5 centre halves. He should have stuck to his guns and said to the fans from the outset, this is how we've recruited. This is how we're going to play. Back 4, you can argue, hasn't worked. We've won 1 game. So it hasn't made any difference whatsoever. So my issue is the club have recruited to play a certain way. He said today in his press conference, Hutton and Shad are wing backs or wingers. They're not full-backs. He doesn't rate Hutton as a full-back, which is why Darcy was there. And he's moved away from that, from pressure, because I believe he's an inexperienced manager, chief coach, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's where our issue is. I don't think the players know what their jobs are, where they should be playing, how they should be playing, which is why we've only won 1 game.
What do you think, as someone who coaches, about the fact that we seem to have 3 or 4 people shouting all the time different instructions? Craig's spotlighted himself.
Yeah, Craig, put yourself. I'm sat there going, who am I talking to? Oh, this is weird. I don't like it.
Craig's taken over.
Awkward. But he seems to have. There we go. He's back.
Oh, it's God! It's like watching my nan.
Sorry, Woody. Let's try that again. So, with regards to the
yeah, I think we definitely need 2 forwards.
I would take a striker.
Yeah, I think obviously we need a striker.
What do we need? I do agree. We probably need another forward in case Wakelin decides to have a bit of a dip in form. A forward, I agree with Craig. I'd like to see another holding midfielder come in, but I don't think we'll get one in.
Obviously, will be a striker first and foremost. I think that's very important. I want a number 9. I'm quite happy for Wakeling to get moved either side with McCurdy, either side of the new striker.
With regards to the points about what we're saying about whether we need a right back, as a head coach for Lindsay, can we make Hutton a better player at a right back? You know what I mean? It's all well and good saying we need to go out and buy another right back, but make Darcy and Hutton better in that position. Train these boys to be better in those positions. That's the one thing I didn't agree with Lindsay saying. I don't feel that they're thinking, well, you're the head coach, buddy. Put it right and try and make it work. Do you know what I mean? Don't just write them off straight away. And just a little point for me on the Dean McCady thing. I don't think the guy's done a bad job, to be perfectly honest with you. We've bought players. We haven't loaned a lot of players like we've been used to the last seasons, that we've bought in 5 or 6 loanees and they've all got to play and then it's all like this and all like that. We have bought a good core of players. Clayton, I think, has been a revelation since he's come in and been given a chance. Khan, I think, has been brilliant. And I think Khan will only get better. Wakeling's been a very good signing. There's a couple there, Shade, Sade, Hutton, but I still think it's very early to write them off. Make them better players. You're a head coach, make them better players.
And I'm really sorry to say, Adeloy, he's dog shit. I'm sorry, he's terrible. How he scored 17 goals for Ayr last year, or whatever it was. He's absolutely awful.
But he's hardly played.
But honestly,
how can you judge him on that, Ned? He got hauled off against Harrogate, and that's it. He's had a few minutes here and there. When he's on the pitch, Harry McCurdy doesn't pass to him, and he just doesn't. He hasn't had the chance to prove himself.
I'm sorry, but we've all played in 5-a-sides where you don't pass the mate boy because he's dog shit. Do you know what I mean? Unless it's an open goal and you kick it off him and it goes in. He's terrible. I think
if he's given a run, you'll change your mind. I honestly do.
If he's given a run, hopefully it's to Oxford and he doesn't come back again.
That's very harsh.
I'm so glad that Ned holds back on these.
He's bad. He's really bad.
Stop! He's already dead.
We have clearly recruited for this 3-5-2.
Yes.
And we're left in a situation where we evidently don't have a right back because we've realised we need to play a 4 to be better, supposedly. That's one of the fundamental flaws in that we don't have the players required to get the best outcome, if that makes sense. You know, they recruited solely for one formation and then threw it out the window within a couple of games.
I think this is what Nick was alluding to, really, and I kind of agree with him in a way. But I was calling for a change of formation because we were god-awful against Harrogate and we were god-awful for the first half against Salford. And then when we changed to a 4 at the back, we looked so much better and so much more comfortable.
I don't think Lindsay's recruited to play a 3-5-2, and I don't think that his system is a 3-5-2. That's why I slightly disagree with Nick a little bit earlier. I think he wants to play progressive football, and you can play progressive football in a manner of different formations.
I think our recruitment hasn't been good enough so far, based on what I've seen so far. We've had a few good players, but we've brought in about 10 players as well. So yeah, you know, when you compare that to what Ben Chorley did last season in a lot more restrictive circumstances, I think questions need to be asked of Sandro Di Michele. But so that's another reason why I'm willing to give Lindsay more of a chance.
Maybe Lindsay's just trying to work out how is the best way for us to provide that style of attacking football. And like we say, like was alluded to earlier, the games are getting better in terms of the way we're playing. And maybe, you know, me included, we need to be a little bit more patient and see when it comes off.
Yeah, but why do we have 5 centre halves then? If we're not recruiting to playing 3 at the back, you're playing 4 at the back. You don't need 5 centre halves in your squad. Plus, we've got Linton as a 6.
But if we look at the 5 centre backs we've got, Kean Harris is more of a development project. So over time,
I don't know. He's a bit more experienced than that, I think.
Yeah, but I think, but at the same time though, like if we're playing for a 3-5-2, why have we only recruited 1 striker or 2 strikers if you include Adeloy? You know, it's you can't you've got
McCurdy.
You can't look at one end and then. So why do we need a striker then if we're playing 3-5-2 when we've got 3 strikers?
Well,
including Parsons, who's out on loan, who we've sent out on loan.
He's gone out.
Very true.
I mean, the way we're setting up, we just as well play 4-5-1. So
why aren't we targeting a right back then? So why aren't we targeting a right back?
Well, if we're going to play 4 at the back, we need one.
Well, unless we go with what Warren said, which I agree with, you sort of retrain Hutton to do the job properly.
I mean, Hutton played 44 games last season. He's a right back stroke wing back. So he couldn't have been that shit. So either we made a big mistake in bringing him in or we're not using him properly.
Are you satisfied with how we've both performed and the return of points in the opening 6 games?
Where we are now, it's acceptable because we're showing improvement. The first game of the season was not acceptable. It was not acceptable. The fact that we looked so disjointed and we didn't know what we was doing and no one seemed to know their roles on the pitch, and just to give such a bad performance, that was definitely not acceptable. But now we're
on an upward trajectory.
Absolutely. So I would still class myself as disappointed, but it's certainly a hell of a lot better than the first game of the season.
We've won as many as we've lost, so it's been an indifferent start. I think we're on a sort of crossroads at the minute where our season really could go either way, if I'm honest.
It's a big statement 6 games in.
It is 6 games in. Well, it's 6 games in. As I say, the season is just a form guide. But where the fans are at the moment and the mood of the club, I think we've got a few games coming up that are very winnable. If we can win 2 of the 3, then I think everyone looks a lot more positive. If we don't win anything, if we draw 2 of them and lose 1, and I think that the mood just turned very sour a little bit. I think we are where we are because we've drawn too many, not because we've lost games, because we've drawn too many. So it's not crisis. It's not like we're in a terrible position. It's a very quick and easy fix. A couple of wins and the whole season's looking different. I'm confident that we will get better and have a good season, and towards the back end of the season, push towards where we want to be, which is around the top 7.
Tend to not see the start of the season finishing until 10 games in, but I think if we don't get, in my opinion, 9 out of 9 points out of the next 12, I think it's not an acceptable start to the season. But that's only because we've drawn those games, and that's not saying that they were bad draws against teams who should, but they are draws at the end of the day. We'd be 10 games in, and we would have played a good majority of teams that will be hunting in the hunting pack. So, I'd say at the moment it's a concern, but not a concern where it's a crisis. But the next, maybe even 5 games, but the next 4 games are very, very important.
Positive for me at the moment is we haven't lost at home. After last season where we lost 7, drew 7, dropped far too many points at home. It's only 6 games. We're a few points off of getting on to the top 7. Like, agree with Woody, the next 3 or 4 games are critical and we need to get some decent points out of those. So by the end of September, I think we will have a good idea of where we're likely to go.
So it sounded like next month's going to be crucial, Warren.
Yeah. Is it been acceptable? In my eyes, I don't even look at the table. Like Woody alluded to, I don't even look at it till 10 games. That's just the way that I've always done it. I don't, what I mean? We'd all love to be sat here that 6 games in, we've won 6. Don't get me wrong. It'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? But we're not there. We're we're getting better. It's progressing in the right direction. I agree that we feel like sort of September, October is going to be a massive couple of months for us to pick up some results, and that's going to need to be shown. It's more than acceptable for me. I don't see any reason why we should be panicking, and I think this is the period now where we walk out of this period where they've had a chance to bed in, and this is the big period when then we can properly judge it. But it's been more than acceptable for me. I don't look at the table really much, to be honest. And the season begins for me now because we're drilled in and we're ready to go.
No, it hasn't. But that doesn't mean it's a crisis. I can say it's not an acceptable start without thinking it's a crisis and we have to, push the panic button. Look, most of us on this panel said this at the start of the season, that the start of the season is key. Having a good start. We haven't had a good start. And I'm going to shock you all by partly agreeing with Ben here. We are at a crossroads. I do agree with him there. And yeah, I said it earlier, this next month is going to be key. But if he doesn't get those 3 wins in 4 or 5 games, are we going to say, October's going to be key? I don't want us to keep kicking the can down the road. That's what I'm worried about, because we did that the relegation season. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. There's 4 teams that are worse than us, and look what happened. So, again, I'm not Lindsay out, but I don't think that where we are, 17th with 7 points, is an acceptable start to the season, to answer the question.
Okay. Penultimate topic then. We have spoken in previous episodes about what our thoughts are on, depending on which money you like to use, the LDV Vans Trophy, the Johnston's Paint Trophy, or to give it its proper name, the Papa John's Trophy. Just very quickly, because we have somehow, despite splitting the agenda into 2 episodes, already gone past the 2-hour mark tonight. Craig, I'll start with you.
Oh, Fife, I'm glad you started with me for my favourite subject. The good old Zenith Data Systems Cup. No, that was the division, wasn't it? I mean, everyone knows my thoughts on this, so I'll keep it brief. I'm hoping there'll be loads of goals and it'll be an entertaining game tomorrow. I'm hoping for 2-2, and those players that are on the fringe get a run out, I don't like the competition, so that's my thoughts on it.
Okay, Ben.
Much echo what Craig says. I hope players get minutes who haven't had minutes so far. I'd like to see our guy Kieran Harris get a game. Hopefully he will and have a good game. And I hope we find some goals. I hope Adloy gets a goal tomorrow, because I think he needs one.
Yeah, I'm actually going tomorrow for the first time, going to a Pisspot Trophy game, as a lot of people call it. I'd like to see our man playing. Hopefully he has a decent game.
If Tony Adloy can't score and can't boss an under-23s team, then I'm sorry. That sort of solidifies my thoughts on him. But there we go.
Is Adloy this season's Mitchell Lawson? Is that what you're saying there?
Mitchell Lawson was useful in some games.
Really?
Which game was you?
Net.
What game was Mitchell Lawson good at, apart from Plymouth?
When they started him into like a bit of a wing backy type position, he looked all right. he was all right. But I mean, both rotten players.
I still can't forgive him for that crawliness. That crawliness sticks in my mind.
Adloy hat trick.
Come on, prove me wrong. Come on,
Adloy.
Yeah.
Warren?
Man.
Obviously, it'd be nice to win. It's always good for Swindon to win. I really hope Adloy does get a hat trick, just to give him that break, really. Gents, it's been very entertaining, and I love having these discussions with you. And the reason for that is social media can be a problem when it comes to this kind of thing, and I hope that we can show that you can have differing opinions and not fall out. I would like to conclude with a message I received earlier in the weekend. The person who sent it did ask to remain anonymous, and it just says, regarding social media comments about our club, players, manager, etc. Just because someone relentlessly spouts their opinion over and over, louder than anyone else, does not make it any truer to those who have a different point of view. And I think that is very, very true. We can all have, and we have expressed different opinions throughout the evening and throughout all of our shows, but we will never shoot someone down for it. We will debate it, we will argue it, but at the end of the day, we will come off this and we will all have a good laugh at that we've managed to, despite splitting the episode into 2 parts, and there will be another episode Friday night of Fools Rush In. We've still managed to do over 2 hours worth of streaming. Craig, Ben, Nick, Ned, Warren, and Woody, thank you all very much for your time this evening. I really do appreciate it. From everyone at Fools Rush In, all that's left to say is good night.